This is the tutorial of my basic inventory system. In this inventory system, you can pick up items, swap items in your slot, and drop items with Unreal Engine collision and physics. I'm using this Unreal Engine third-person blueprint template for my project. Starting with widgets, create a widget blueprint. Drag a canvas panel to your viewport. Resize. Now drag a horizontal box on your canvas panel. Change its anchor. Change the size and positions. Now drag a border to your horizontal box and rename it slot border something. Now drag an image to your slot border. Rename it slot icon. Add 4 padding to your slot border and slot icon. Change the size of your slot border to fill. Now set a default image for your slot icon. I'll import one. Drag it inside the image section. Now change the color value of your slot border. Click on slot border and enable is variable and Control C. Paste it in horizontal box 4 times so that you have total 5 slots. Compile it. To use this widget, you need to go to your character blueprint. For me, it's third-person character. Make some space below this event begin play node. Now add a sequence node in front of begin play. Search for create widget. Connect sequence 1 with create widget. In class, select your widget. For owning player, you can either choose as player controller or you can just get player controller. Now make this return value a variable and rename it since we're going to use it later. Then attach a add to viewport node. Compile it. After this, your widget should be working with the control character. Now to start working on slots, we have to first go to the character blueprint. Search for mouse wheel up. Now create 2 new variables and set them as integer. Let me just group them. Compile it. Now change the default value of max slot to 4. Change default value of selected slots to 0. Now we have to check a condition in which your selected slot is equal to max slot. Now get a branch node. Now drag the false node and connect it to an integer increment and bring the selected slot value to this increment node. Now search for mouse wheel down. Go to your widget blueprint, go to graph, and create a custom event. Now add an input, set it to integer, compile it. Now in your character blueprint, drag your widget variable, search for that custom event, connect the execution pin and selected slot pin. The other condition you have to check is that your selected slot is equal to 0. Bring a branch node. Now search for decrement integer. Now from your widget variable, search for your custom event and connect the execution pins. Compile it. Now for the widget blueprint graph, drag your variable and search for switch on integer. Disable the hash default pin. Now add total 5 pins 0 to 4. Drag your slot border and search for set brush color. Now connect first execution pin and change the color of your selected slot. Duplicate the nodes. Connect all execution pins. And connect the remaining slot borders. Copy the color value and change your first border's color to the selected slot color. Now duplicate all 4 of these nodes and connect them. And connect the slot borders in all the nodes except the one they are in front of. Now copy the color value of your slot border and change these values in the second nodes. Compile it. You should have a working inventory slots. For your inventory items, we need to create a blueprint, active blueprint. This will be your master blueprint for your items. Add a static mesh. Add a sphere collision. Compile it. Now create a child blueprint class. These child blueprints will be your main items. In the event graph of your master item, select collision, scroll down, add these 2 events. Now from other actor, cast it to your character blueprint and promote it to variable. From execution pin, search for enable input and connect the get player controller to player controller. From this, search disable input and remember to change it from target to controller. Now to test this, search for your E key and drag a print string from it. Compile it. Drag any of your items inside your viewport. Change the size of your collision. Pressing E inside the collision will show a dialog box in top left of your screen, which means it works. Delete this, go back to your character blueprint, add a custom event, compile it. Create a folder for your structures and enumerations. Rename this structure. Add a name variable with name type. Add an icon variable with texture 2D type. Now create an enumeration. Add 3 enumerators. Rename them. Now in your structure, add item nature and set it to your enumeration type. Put your icon in default slot. Add a isEmpty variable and set it to boolean. Enable in default. Add a class variable and set it to the class reference of your master item. To set a default value, create an empty child blueprint from your master item. Now set this as default. In your master item, create a variable. Set it to your structure type. Compile it. Recheck the default values. After this, I'll be creating a master material for the meshes I'll be importing. Now to set the material and collisions, click on your imported static mesh. Apply the material. Remove any old collisions and create new collisions for your mesh. Do the same for your other mesh. Now that your meshes are ready, place them in their blueprints, resize them, and do the same for your other meshes. Now drag your item blueprints into scene. Reposition them as you like. Now in your item blueprint, change your details as you like. Import PNG or JPG images for your textures. Apply them. Disable is empty and choose the correct class. Do the same for your other item blueprints. In your character blueprint, create a new variable. Change the type to your structure and convert type to array. Compile it. Add one default value. Recheck the default values. And if correct, add the remaining slots. On your event, add an input. Change type to your structure. Compile it. In your master item, get your character blueprint variable. Search your custom event. Connect execution pins. And drag the item variable into the event input. Search destroy actor. Compile it. In your character blueprint, create a new function. Drag your function in event graph. Now in your function, add an input. Back in event graph, connect variable with input. Compile it. Inside your function, get your item array. Search get a reference and attach selected slots variable. Search for break and deselect all pins except is empty. Get a branch node. From true, search set array element. Drop your item array in target array. Drop your selected slots in index. And bring item from your function input. Back in your widget graph, create a new custom event. Add two inputs. First one integer. Second one texture 2D reference. Compile it. Now in your character blueprint function, drag in your widget variable. Search for a custom event and connect them. Clear all the pins except icon. Compile it. In your widget blueprint graph, search for switch on int, uncheck default pin and add 5 pins. Drag your first icon variable. Search for set brush from texture. Drag in your first pin. Drag the item icon from event input. Duplicate the node and connect remaining icon variables in correct order. Compile it. In your character blueprint function, get a spawn actor from class node and connect it to false. Reselect the class pin from first break. Connect class in spawn actor. Right click spawn transform and click split struct pin. Now go in your character blueprint viewport, select mesh and add an arrow component. Reposition it in front of your character. Compile it. Back in your function, drag the arrow component, search for get world location. Connect it to spawn transform location and connect this execution pin with the set array element. Compile it. Back in your event graph, search for G key, create a new function. Drag your new function in event graph and connect it with G key. Inside your new function, get item array and search for get a reference. Connect selected slots in index. Search for break. Uncheck all pin except is empty. Get a branch node. Search for spawn actor from class and connect it with false execution. Reselect class pin in break. Split transform pin. Get world location of your arrow component and attach to spawn actor location. Drag your item array. Search for set array element. Connect selected slots to index. Go back to event graph. Add a third pin in event begin play sequence. Get your item array. Get a reference. And promote this to an variable named empty. Back to your second function. Attach empty variable in set array element. Get your widget variable. Search for a custom icon event. Attach selected slots to current slot. Search break from empty item. Deselect all pins except icon. Attach icon to widget icon event. Compile it. Lastly, if you want to enable simulate physics, either you can put a mesh in your master item and then enable simulate physics, or you can individually enable simulate physics in your items. Testing the final project. Picking object works. Dropping objects works with collisions. Okay, anyway, picking, swapping and dropping object does work. This might be happening because of mass, or maybe the third person character is just giving a weird velocity to these blueprints. But yeah, this inventory system works.